Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you may be in the cosmos, the galaxy, the multiverse. This is Rocken Larry Locken with Pleidian Express Productions. Today we have a very special show, and I've been looking forward to this for a long time. I've got with me from N5D, the Cosmic Awakening Show, Michelle Walling, and of course the webmaster, founder, and maestro of it all, Gregg Prescott. And I wanted to kick this off and ask Gregg what the deal is with this Gabby thing. Michelle apparently has a new nickname, and it's Gabby, and I'd like to get Gregg's take on that as to, how that all started, and we're just going to flow from there. We're just hanging out today, and casual, and here we go. So, Gregg, what's up with that Gabby situation?
I have no idea.
Don't be a smart ass. Don't be a smart ass.
Who is this Gabby?
Who is Gabby?
All right, so
Larry is giddy.
Go ahead.
Larry's giddy, right?
Yes.
Very.
And I'm Gabby.
Giddy and Gabby. You can explain the Giddy.
And we'll call you Greggy.
Greggy. So I had this dream the other night. I was in a school setting in this dream, and there was a girl there who felt like she was my neighbor back home, and not necessarily here, but home. She had long black hair and was relatively short, about 5'3" or so, and she spelled out her name on a Scrabble board, Gabby Gaspar. And I was in a small group of about 7 or 8 people, but it felt like I was the newbie there. And the next thing I know, we're all on bicycles, and we reach a river, and the bicycles turned into skates, the kind of skates you put on your shoes. And we were on this large piece of flat wood, which had 2 small strips on each side to place our skates on. So we had to take our skates off and place them in between these strips, then lock them in before we crossed the river. And I was the last one to reach the river, so I was confused about what we were supposed to do. Then some dude helped me out, and he helped me lock these skates into that device, but it almost got my hand caught into the locking device. And as this was happening, we were somehow being pushed into the water. And now I was in the front of this piece of wood, and I said, "This water is cold." And Gabby was at the back and came up to sit next to me, and she said, "I've got a hot ass to lighten things up." So at first, despite the flirtation, I felt like Gabby was a spirit guide type of person who used humor, so I would realize. Then when she said, "I've got a hot ass," that was something Michelle would say to me. So.
Well, it's something you would say to me, too.
Oh, yeah,
You got a hot ass, so... Anyway, I knew when you were telling me, though, right when you were telling me from the very beginning about this person in your dream, I knew it was me. I knew it was me for some reason, but then you just confirmed that it was me. But interesting part about that, there's 2 parts. There's several parts, but the first part was the fact that this was like the first time in a dream that a name was actually spelled out to you on a Scrabble board, which was funny because you like games and you like crossword puzzles and stuff.
Yeah.
So the name was spelled out, and it was the last dream of the night. So of course it happened right before you woke up for the day, so it would be fresh in your mind. And then you actually looked up that name. No, it was actually, wasn't it Gabriella, or was it Gabby?
No, it was Gabby. It was Gabby. And so when I woke up, I did a Google search, and I found a lot of women named Gabby Gaspar and Gabriella Gaspar. Now, what I ended up doing was I looked up the meaning for both of those names. Now, Gabby, in the Urban Dictionary, Gabby means the hottest and most amazing girl on the face of the earth. She's the nicest and sweetest person anyone could ever meet, and makes everyone happy with her wonderful personality and banging body. And then there's another one on there.
Oh my God.
An amazing person often referred to as a goddess. Now, the Gaspar, the last name Gaspar, means master of the treasure. So we have a goddess that's the master of the treasure. So I thought that was interesting.
Well, and we can get, a little more personal because, this is an experience that we're sharing. And, you call me your goddess,
yes.
And I call you my God, like we joke. If I say, "Oh my God," about something, you'd kind of turn and look at me like I just called your name. you know, you know, we just like to joke around like that. But the funny thing is that these are the confirmations. This is how we interacted before, and here we had this. He had this dream, and I knew it was me. The fact that I looked like an Indian as well, with like short black hair, also plays into another thing that came up, is synchronicity for me that I'm not sure if we're going to get into or not, but it does have to do with Indians. So anyway, also Gabby is short for Gabriel or Gabriella, and I looked up. I just happened to think of basically Archangel Gabriel,
Yes.
because Gabriella is the feminine version of Gabriel, and so when I looked up that, it's this is interesting. The only archangel depicted as female in art and literature is Gabriel. I thought Gabriel was a male archangel. And she's known as the messenger angel, and is one of the 4 archangels named in Hebrew tradition, and is considered one of the 2 highest ranking angels in Judeo-Christian and Islamic religious lore. She's a powerful and strong archangel, and those who call upon her will find themselves pushed into action that leads to beneficial results. Well, that right there is kind of interesting, because before I left Florida and came here, Greg and I, we were in a relationship, and we're discussing things where I actually was kind of pushing him to do some things, just, hey, it's time to do this, And so that was like a confirmation, and it says, contact Gabriel if your third eye is closed and your spiritual vision is therefore blocked. You wish to receive visions of angelic guidance regarding the direction you are going in. If you wish to receive prophecies and all this stuff. And here you go. If you need help in interpreting your dreams and vision. So it's like, okay, so he calls me up and he tells me about this dream, and of course I'm here helping interpreting it. So it's not like I think I'm Archangel Gabriel. It's just that it is kind of funny, because I'm kind of depicted as that in everything that it stands for, but I'm not saying I'm an archangel or anything. It's about guidance, coaching. She acts as a coach, inspiring and motivating, and that's what I do, is life coaching. Journalists and communicators, helping them overcome fear and procrastination. I mean, it's like, Greg's a procrastinator, and I had a fear of communication before I started on the radio. So that's very strange. Another thing that Greg is doing right now is he's doing kind of like a bread fast, where he's not eating bread, and you're eating salads and stuff like that.
I'm doing is, I'm keeping my saturated fats to 10 grams or less a day. So I'm just trying to lose a little weight to help my back.
Did you cut out on breads? Cut back on breads or not?
I cut back seriously, but I had a couple pieces last night. There's no saturated fat in the bread I eat.
Yeah. So it says, call Gabriel if your body is full of toxins and needs purifying, and if your thoughts are impure or negative and need clearing or cleansing. And so that, that was pretty cool that we were talking about, cleansing and clarifying. It's just, there was just too many freaky things involved to ignore it. But there's even more to it, and it had to do with the river, crossing the river.
Yeah. The way I saw it was we're on the edge of something big, and this is a great segue into what we're going to be talking about too tonight, about the Cosmic Wildcard. The water, I remember seeing the other side. I don't remember specifically what was on the other side, but to me, it signified that we're on the verge, we're on the precipice of something really big, and we're about to dive right into it. And I've had dreams similar to this, where I remember seeing Tampa, and it was a city of gold. And Tampa is basically a shithole, if you've ever been there. But
Greg, on a side note, they have a shitty football team too, but go on.
Yeah, they do, but I got to root for them because I live near them. But yeah, to me, when I saw that, city of gold, and I knew it was Tampa. I know that we're on the verge of something really big, and we'll get into that a little bit later, what's going to be happening.
Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out. I'm just trying to think. Okay, so the river, basically we were going to cross the river, and there were some kind of boards that sunk in the water, and we would have gone into the water, but we were basically on top of the water still, right?
Still afloat, yeah.
Yeah,
it wasn't sinking, we're just going in the water, and but it was enough for me to feel it and know that it was cold.
Well, apparently I warmed it up with my, hot ass? Is that
Yes.
what I said?
Yep.
Well, see, all that is just like, okay, here's another thing. It's like, I guess I was there with you, and I was in my astral body, and maybe this was like another lifetime that we had together. That's what I looked like in another lifetime, where we had met together in another lifetime before. But so what do you think the overall message was, though, of the dream? Because anyway, we made a joke about, now you're going to call me Gabby, and another thing was, when I have a couple of cups of coffee in the morning, sometimes I just start talking, and when Greg's trying to work, it's not always a good thing, and he's very nice about it, but sometimes I can read his mind, and he's thinking, damn, I wish he'd just shut up. That's another, Gabby is a person who talks a lot, and, normally I don't, but lately I think I have, and it's funny because this is the third radio show in 3 days, and I think that would be considered talking a lot. So it's just hilarious that he had the dream, and the name was spelled out, and we both knew it was me. When he woke up, he knew it was me, and when he was telling me about it, I knew it was me before he even said it.
Yep. So yeah, I had to laugh at that line. It was funny. So, what I am getting, though, is that we are on the precipice of something really, really, really big from this, and we're entering it right now. And as far as I'm concerned, we've already been in it, and it's probably already happened, seeing how time is an illusion. So, but there are some things that are coming up, and that's what we're going to be talking about tonight, is the Cosmic Wildcard. And I wrote an article about this on N5D. You can just go to the search button in the upper right-hand corner of any page and just type in Cosmic Wildcard, and you'll see the article. And the first thing I mention is the photon belt. Now, what do you guys know about the photon belt?
Larry, you know about the photon belt from the Barbara Marciniak information, don't you?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, actually, we're getting closer to the photon belt, and I really think it's the key to. And I'm just coming off of consciousness right here. I think that it's really the key of our planet moving from that outer layer where we're part of these warfaring planets that aren't quite ready to ascend and aren't quite ready to comprehend the peace and love of the galaxy. And I think that moving through the photon belt, it's actually bringing the love vibrations to the earth and just changing the earth. And I think
you there?
It's changing the consciousness of everybody. Like, it's weird how this is going to happen. Okay, I'm going to go off a little bit here, but people think, okay, how is disclosure going to happen? Is it going to be world leaders coming on the air and giving this? I don't really think that. I'm beginning to think more and more, guys, that it's just that we're moving through the photon belt, and I think just the mindset of everybody is changing. Even these people that haven't awakened yet, right, so-called, I think that the consciousness of their mind is changing, and maybe that's how it's going to happen. I mean, I don't know. It's getting so hard for me to articulate anything in 3D words anymore because I'm just kind of going off of vibration and feel. But we are on the verge of something big, and I know that people have said that for years. Oh, this is going to happen, and well, this and that. But it's like my body, and I'm sure you guys can relate, my body is feeling it. We're just, we're getting closer to that ascension and going through the photon belt, and then I don't know. Gregg Prescott, bail me out, brother. I mean, it's just,
Well,
what do you think?
It's my understanding that in 2012 we started to enter the photon belt. And it's possible that with these increases in photon energy, that's part of what the awakening is causing the awakening. As we absorb more light, literally, it's awakening more people. And if we just entered in 2012, I mean, we still have 2,000 years of going through this band of photons, and that could explain why we're seeing all these people awakening exponentially, more and more every day.
Well, and we've all heard about this. I mean, we've all heard that because Greg, you and I, we both like Barbara Marciniak, and we have an affection towards Pleiadians. We've read Pleiadian channelings, and not all the channelings, you can count on, but there's something that we did have in common with the readings that we paid attention to and stuff was Barbara Marciniak. You actually went to one of her conferences, and she did strongly resonate with me, and we know that they have an agenda, and their particular agenda involves helping humanity help themselves and preparing us for the fact that when we enter this photon belt, it will start causing things to come to the forefront that need to be addressed in order to clear. It's basically a process of clearing, so we can continue to bring more light in. It's an expansion, and our cells are actually expanding, and our energy field is expanding, and everything's vibrating faster, and it has to be done at a certain pace, or else we could lose our minds. We could physically become ill. It can't be taken in all at once. So this is part of the teachings of the channelings of the Pleiadians. This is the time that we're in. However, 2012, was there was something that truly happened that I don't know if we really understand, but something did happen. Most people were disappointed because they thought that 2012 came and went and it was all a hoax and nothing happened. But I guarantee you something happened. Mm-hmm. And I talked about it on my show yesterday with Simon Parks, who is an extraterrestrial contact who was raised by mantid beings who would take him and do experiments on him, and that's a show in itself. But for him, the way he described this energy is basically unseen light, and I think photon is another word for that. And what the Cosmic Wildcard is I think that our creator, or the creator of this universe, there's the all that is, and then there's sub-creators. I think the creator of this universe had an experiment that went really wrong. From what I understand, this universe was created as a non-free will universe and then changed for the experience somewhere down the eons of time. And when it was changed to a free-willed universe, it attracted beings from other universes to come and play in the sandbox and really mess things up. And I think it got out of control, but there was always an end date. And I think that when the end date came, we were allowed to get as much information as possible, which would be you're going to enter the photon belt. You're going to be ascending, which means raising your vibration. But you know what? The last part of ascension has kind of been vague and left off. And then there was the dark side, who could look into the future with their technology and then basically go back in time and keep going back and back and trying to change what was happening and put us on different timelines so that we would not ascend. And also they were able to just keep sending people back to this new age religion type thing, this spiritual new age religion that would confuse everybody as to the basics of what was happening. I believe if we didn't have the convoluted new age religion inserted into everything, everybody would know exactly what was happening and what we were going to do, except for the actual cosmic wild card. And if you're in war, if you want to call it war, you're in duality, and there's a plan, and you've got to make strategic moves. Let's just say you are in war. You're not going to tell your enemy what you're going to do. I mean, they have to do that to us because that's a universal law. They tell us what they're doing to us all the time on television, on movies. It's right there in your face. You just take one drive through a major city or even a minor city, even a small city. All the symbols and everything are everywhere to show that they're watching, that they're in control of the situation, of the planet. But they've been telling us what they're going to do, but as far as us getting the information of what's actually going to happen, it's going to shift us out of this reality, I think that's a surprise. It's like a surprise party is waiting for us, and I think that's the cosmic wild card. And the thing is that I just feel like, and we talked about this yesterday. Simon said, everything is going to get. Everybody says everything's going to get worse before it gets better because it has to get to the most extreme point of good and bad for some reason, and I think it serves a purpose sometimes to help people awaken when things get so bad. I mean, when they get extremely bad and people aren't paying attention, well, guess what? It might have to get extremely bad a little bit more just for them to go, wow, to wake up out of this brain fog from all the chemicals and all the frequencies and all the mind control stuff that they're shooting at people to wake them up, and so the good thing about seeing chaos is that it's working, A, to wake people up, and B, there's got to be one point where it just can't get any worse unless the planet were to be blown up, and that's not going to happen. So in a way, it's kind of good that things are bad, and that you just think, I can't believe the economy is still afloat. Seriously?
Yeah,
I can't believe.
Michelle, can I cut in for a second? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
The economy is still whatever. People we're caught in this perpetual over and over again. I mean, people have been talking about these things for decades and decades and decades. It's like with every presidential debate you've seen from Kennedy to Nixon and 60 to now, they talk about the same shit, the same few issues. And it's like I wanted to touch on what you were talking about, the symbols that you see, the manipulation on the movies. And I don't know if you guys have ever had a chance to see the movie, but an old family friend of ours that started here in Oregon as a professional wrestler did a movie called They Live, and it's David Icke's favorite movie. It's Roddy Piper, a true Pleidian soul, and he's really a hometown hero here. And my uncle used to sell him some things, and I won't say what they were, but that movie, if you watch that movie, you really see some subliminal. He puts on these glasses, right? And you start seeing everything that's subliminal. And you're right, they attack us from every angle. It's TV, and it's just everything. And it just made me think of that movie, They Live, from 1988. John Carpenter was the director, and it's everywhere. It's in our face. And I just wanted to cut in and say that because it just really hit me home. It hit home with me.
I'm ready for my freaking glasses. Screw the bubble gum. I want the glasses. I want to see who is actually a shapeshifter, that walked off a ship or that came out from the underground, because there's technology that they're able to replicate bodies and then just shoot their soul into it. But their soul is not like our soul. They're conscious. They need energy. They have to steal energy. They don't have the ability to get energy from source like we do. And so then there's also the transhumanist ones that they have here on the planet, and they are like robots and they don't have a soul. and they could just be sitting, in a diner next to you, and you won't even know it. But if we had the glasses, man, that would be really cool. And maybe maybe that's part of the surprise that one day we'll open our eyes, and just like the movie. I mean, could be. I mean, the Matrix is very similar to what's happening. I've always wondered if we really do have a body in stasis somewhere, hooked up, and it's asleep, and our consciousness is here in this Matrix. I've always wondered if there's a body. What is that?
That was a quote from
Yeah, okay.
They Live. That was Rowdy Piper saying, I've come here to kick ass and chew bubblegum, and I'm all out of bubblegum.
Oh, I couldn't hear that.
Yeah.
Couldn't hear what it was saying.
You know what? And I've met him in person when I was little. That is actually so him. But, hey, Greg, I wanted to ask you one question. Have you ever thought about, when they talk about disclosure and everything, and maybe I'm getting off topic, but can you see a day where leaders of the world will announce a major conference or a State of the Union address here in the U.S. and they announce it? Or do you think that we're just going to move into this new realm like Michelle was talking about? I feel like it's just that our consciousness is awakening, and it won't even take that. And it's just going to be interesting to see how this whole thing goes down.
It's not even needed. And when it does happen, and it's already happening, it's happening through the alternative media. Governments, you can't trust them to begin with, so no matter what they say, it's going to be hot air bullshit designed to keep us living in subservience, control, and conformity. So I don't see them actually coming out and doing anything. It's going to come out a long time beforehand through the alternative media, and we're already doing it. Michelle had an interview with a Mantid contactee yesterday. I mean, and if you look at it, we're already here anyway. I've talked many times about this. I've written about it on N5D, where there's three possible events that could have happened to make us the way we are today. One is Zecharia Sitchin's interpretation of the cuneiform, the Sumerian cuneiform, where our DNA was genetically manipulated. And I can understand that because we only have 20 codons turned on right now, so something happened within our DNA. A second one is that we were we were seeded here by various star nations, and that would explain all the differences between blood values, A, B, and O, RH values, positive and negative, ethnicities, races, languages, or number three would be a combination of both Sitchin's genetic manipulation theory and that we were seeded here by various star nations. So to say that, do you expect disclosure coming from a government? When everyone talks, we're disclosing every day. We're here.
We are the extraterrestrials.
Yeah. And that's just our family that's out there. When you see UFOs, that's our galactic neighbors and friends and family.
Exactly. It's just star brothers and sisters watching over us. So do you think we're just moving away from this? I mean, we're getting to the point, like, your alternative media is so great on N5D, and people are doing that. Do you think we're just moving away from the system? It doesn't even matter if the president got on the air. Now no. Disclosure. We don't give a shit. We're just moving into our... Hey, Greg and Michelle, we're doing our own breakaway civilization, so to speak.
Yeah, I think basically we have no right to change the creation that we are in, because it was when Creator split itself off. When you give free will to a universe, you can either be a light being or you can be a dark being if you're in a polarity type situation. So we're not here to change the system. The system is part of the matrix. What we're here to do is to exit the matrix, but before we do, we came here to let everybody know, hey, you're in a matrix. Did you know that? Did you know that you are completely been mind controlled and have been recycled lifetime after lifetime for these beings who created this ingenious system because they could no longer, they got so far away from source from their creator in this free-willed place, that they are no longer able to access energy from source, and so they had to create a device, whether it's a copy of a universe, because they can't create things themselves, so they can copy things and then tweak it, because they can't actually create a universe. They would have to copy one, or even if it's just a galaxy or whatever you're talking about, they can only copy and change. But they had to have food. They had to have food source. And so they have no other choice than to steal it, because they chose the furthest away from source experience for creator. And apparently it was allowed, because I think that's how you know yourself, is to kind of get to know who you're not, in a way. And so it's a very, you can look at it from pull back from a very high perspective to be able to figure this out. Apparently, those of us who woke up, we had help to wake up, and now it's our turn to help other people wake up and exit this reality, and let those who are comfortable with being a food source and being under a hierarchical type, ball and chain type slavery environment, let them be if they want to stay. But everybody needs at least a chance to see. And I think that's part of the cosmic wildcard, is there has to be something that happens around the world that will be undeniably lead towards either extraterrestrial origins, or that everything that we've been taught is a lie, and that sends the ball rolling down the hill. Basically, we really thought that it would happen before now, and just can't imagine that it has, something hasn't happened. And it could be that we're creating it, ourselves anyway. It's because nobody else is going to hand it to us. As a matter of fact, Simon, was confirming yesterday, the benevolent extraterrestrials that are our star family may even be even a future self of ours, but our family, our benevolent family, is not allowed to interfere. They can only support us with our free will request. So that is why when I pray, I basically go in and I ask myself, I connect with my higher self and my creator, and I ask for my higher self and my creator to assist me in my situations. But I also ask for those of benevolent beings who are here to assist me, or here to guide me on my mission and on the highest path for humanity. I also give them permission to help. And I think that's important for everybody who's on this path, is to remember that you can ask, you have to state that you want help from, your higher self, creator, and any beings that are here on your best behalf. And you can even ask your higher self to be the judge and jury, I guess, on who it's gonna let in, to your energy space, because we do have we are multi-dimensional beings, and so there's an aspect of us that's in the fourth dimension, which is the astral realm. Well, we may not want the astral realm being helping us. There's an aspect of us that's in the fifth dimension, sixth dimension. We've actually been in the 12th dimension before we came to the third dimension. We weren't just born here in the third dimension. We actually fell into this dimension. So there are aspects of us in every dimension, and not only that, in the layers in between as well.
One of the things I was thinking about while you were talking about that, about some of these archonic energies that feed off of the light. You guys have heard of how, I think there's a guy that does sun gazing. He goes by the initials HRM, and they've done tests where that he shows that he can live on light, essentially just sun gazing, basically live on the prana. And basically what we're talking about when it comes to archonic energies that are siphoning our energy, they're siphoning that light that's within all of us. Everyone has that spark of divinity within them, and when you live in fear, that spark dwindles, but it can still be siphoned by the archonic entities. So, and I keep telling people the most important thing you can do is turn off the TV, except for football Sunday. But yeah, shut it off. And even, I think I've talked to you, Larry, about this. If you're going to watch TV or sports in particular, understand the precept that's behind it. It's all based on divide and conquer. We were talking about how the Lions were playing the Giants. Isn't that Rome?
Basically? Yeah, exactly it is. And then you have all these subplots to it, and the coach is going to get fired if they don't win this game. And yeah, it really is. I mean, and you know what? It's like I've got to the point where like I had to take a month off, and you go back into 3D, and I understand the whole illusion behind it. I try to just appreciate what's going on in the field, but there's a bigger picture here, and it's not so simple as like, the referee was paid off, the coach was paid off, whatever. It's like there's a whole big agenda behind this to keep people distracted. And yeah, I love that theory, Greg. You're right, because the Lions versus the Giants, and people don't even, they're so asleep to it. But this thing is such an archonic manipulation that it's, I don't know. I mean, I can't even put it into words.
Even like when Dallas plays Washington or Kansas City, you have the Cowboy and Indian. You have Dallas Cowboys and the Kansas City Chiefs. Cowboy and Indian scenario. It's always about divide and conquer. It's my tribe against your tribe. But yet we live in a civilization where we don't see it that way. It's just my team, and there's nothing harmful about it. It's just a game. It's so much more than that. It's still a larger version of slavery, albeit they're millionaire slaves. But no one really wants to see it that way.
Greg, and no, they don't. It's kind of like a counter-control opposition. Okay, you take the Cowboys versus the Redskins, right? And then you get all these people. The big move here right now in America is to get the Redskins or the Chiefs, like you mentioned, to change their name because it's offensive to the Native Americans, right? Well, and maybe it may be, but then that whole issue comes up, right? And it's a distraction from what's really going on. Then they're distracting people over this issue. They should change their name. They should change their name. And people don't realize how fucked up it is, and I don't care. I'm going to cuss because we're not censored here, but it's just and they do that, and it's like it just takes people's eye off the real game. You know what I mean? In every level they do that. There's a counter control measure at every level, and it's like you got to fight through the matrix to get through that. Okay, and and they'll keep us distracted with that, and they'll keep us distracted with the GMO labeling. Okay, yeah, they've got to come out now and they've got to label there's GMO, whatever the products are that they use. But the reality of it is it's so much bigger than that. It's a manipulation at every level. And I'm sorry, I'm just getting excited here, but it's just to manipulate us at every level. And you always got to, in every now moment, I say this all the time, you've always got to have no judgment but keep your bullshit detector on high in every now moment you're in, because it's just a deception. All these things throw us off, whether it's football, pro wrestling, the NBA, it keeps us distracted. But if you can see through the bullshit, but then again, it's just like they just want to keep our minds, entertained on some little thing like that. And sports is a big problem for me because I'm a big sports fan, and in my awakening, I've kind of went away from it. But at the same time, I mean, I don't, Greg, I know you are too, and Greg, I've never asked you, but what is your take on, the four major sports organizations in America, especially? I mean, do you think that some of this is meant to just distract people from the real, keep their eye off the ball?
Definitely. It all boils down to idolizing, and worshiping, putting your energy out to something else and not claiming it yourself. That's what it really boils down to. It's like, when we celebrate Columbus Day, really? Columbus discovered a place that was already inhabited by Native Americans? It's insulting. It really is.
Yeah, it is. And and you know, the thing about the Chiefs and the Indians and the Redskins and all that stuff, you know, what they want to do is they want to remove the names of any kind of Indian reference off of the planet, because
Real
the
fierce, yeah.
the Indians, the natives, are the ones that have passed down the truth about our origins through verbal, you know, through the years, through their generations. And that's why they tried to wipe them off of the face of the planet when they tried to move them all to Oklahoma. And with the I actually had a dream about 4 or 5 nights ago. I woke up and I was I was lying in bed with my eyes still closed, because I like to do, you know, to try to take in everything that I can remember. And I had a flash of an Indian, a male older Indian with the headdress and everything. And so I immediately opened my eyes and got on the internet and searched, I think I searched Indian images, and I saw the image right away, clicked on it, and found out it was White Buffalo Man. So White Buffalo, I, you know, found information on White Buffalo Man, and I sent it to Greg, and he posted an article for me about.
That was Sitting Bull's grandson.
Yes, yeah. So yeah, the article was Sitting Bull's grandson talking about the wisdom that White Buffalo Man had passed down.
Mhm.
And then I went into meditation and came up with the Trail of Tears, and that's, you know, where they tried to they forced the Indians west of the Mississippi to all head towards like Oklahoma Territory, but they didn't have, I mean, they made them walk. Some of them got put on boats and taken up the Mississippi to a certain point, but then they had to walk for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of miles. They gave them like handful of corn kernels and 1 turnip and 2 cups of warm water a day, and basically it was just basically a massacre. You know, they didn't really want to move them to Oklahoma. They wanted to massacre them because they have the knowledge. So as the veil begins to lift, we are recognizing these things in playing out, and in sports and everything, on television. We can see these things. That's how the veil, you know, is slowly lifting. I would have preferred that it just lifts and we are able to have a flashback of all of our lives and why we're here and how we're going to get out of this. That would be the true veil lifting. That would be the true awakening. You know, we say we're awake now, but we really don't know. We're still under this consciousness. But, you know, moving out of this, you know, this I was back to the matrix. You know, matrix is created under a certain consciousness, and, you know, we can't solve our problems in this consciousness. We have to move into a higher consciousness, and our reality does shift, and that's where it's important to understand that this is a holographic illusion. It is a matrix, and it does feel real, and the experience is real. It's not like it's not going to stay with you in your DNA and your Akashic records. It's real. It's part of being physical and having this experience, but we have to move out of this consciousness. And I think what we're seeing by your comments about both of you about sports and everything is, once you realize what's happening because the veil's thinning and you're understanding why, you know, why they have sports and all that, you can actually, because you live in 3D right now, you can actually watch sports and just not be tugged and torn down into it as a distraction. You might actually be doing more than you realize. You might be actually changing consciousness of everybody that's watching sports just because you, as light workers, are watching sports. You never know what's happening.
Well, you know, I'd like to also add that, you know, the whole sports thing, you know, if you do have an obsession over sports, you know, just to make sure that you do understand the underlying premise, the whole divide and conquer thing. Now, Dolores Cannon, in one of her speeches, this is really fascinating. She said that the ETs, they love sports and movies. Why? Because of the emotion that we elicit during both of those. They love, for example, at a sporting event, the rise and fall of emotions, as it's often played out. You'll see people yelling and they're all upset, and then the next play there's an interception return for a touchdown, and they're all happy again. And in movies, they're fascinated how you can be yourself, but then portray yourself as somebody else with all these gamuts of emotions. And what we do is we take our range of emotions for granted here, because we assume that that everyone has them, but they don't. Some civilizations, some of our galactic neighbors and friends, have limited emotions, and that's one thing that really separates us from a lot of other people, is we do have this wide range of emotions. Unfortunately, a lot of these emotions lead to negative outcomes, but that's also a different topic. It's just a matter of overcoming your fear, facing it, and understanding what's going on, and overcoming that at that point.
Well, and so really a lot of people want to know, I mean, we don't know what the Cosmic Wildcard is. That's why it's called a Cosmic Wildcard, but a wildcard, it's, like a wrench that's going to be thrown into their system, to where we are, more of us are awakened than not, put it that way, and we're helping each other. We're joining together like we do now, and providing platforms and everything. But I think, Greg, a lot of people want to know, what do we do? What can we do when we see the truth behind things? But there's not enough people that are just going to stand up and not pay their income taxes right now, even though the Federal Reserve is actually, their charter went out as a corporation, and they're not even a legal company anymore. What do we do?
Well, I think before we get into that, I think we should talk about some of the other possibilities, some of the other wild cards that are out there.
Okay.
So we did talk about the photon belt, and and basically just to wrap that up, it's an influx of photonic energy that started in 2012 and is leading up to the shift, or the quickening, and that's emanating from the photons around the Pleiades. So as these photons increase, we're seeing an increase in awakening. There's another one called the galactic superwave, and according to Paul LaViolette, there's this galactic wave that comes every 13 to 26,000 years or so, and that brings in a whole new energy as well. And he goes on to say that the emitted cosmic rays escape the core unimpeded, and they travel radially outward through the galaxy, and they form a spherical shell that advances at close to the speed of light. So that could hit any minute. And according to his proposition, this is what they talk about in the blink of an eye. Perhaps it's something like that that would change everything overnight and completely lift the veil. Moving on, we also have the Schumann resonance, and I've been.
Can I say something about that though?
Yeah.
What you just said. I mean, think about what just happened to our sun though in the last couple of days and a week. Mm-hmm. For the first time in, I think, since most people who are awakened that do this watch the SOHO images, and NASA has been trying to block out a lot of those images and just cuts out a lot of the time, but mostly they see the images, and you usually see like the golden electricity or whatever, maybe a few sunspots, but like 2 nights ago, the whole top and the whole bottom of the sun had these huge bands of sunspots, just blackness. And that's, people were commenting, that was the first time they've ever seen anything like that. And also the other video by the astronomers or the whoever it was pretty legitimate looking to me, showing like this golden electricity lightning emanating or interacting with the sun. And it happened for, I think, up to 24 hours or something like that. And so you have to, I asked the hybrid, mantid hybrid, Simon, because he, you'd think that he would know something about that. And his explanation was along the lines that even though our benevolent family cannot, meddle and change without free, without our free will, they can't help all of humanity. There are certain things that they can do for Creator that puts us where we need to be, and that could possibly be that they're helping send even more energy through our sun, because our sun is a stargate from the galactic center, and that's coming, straight to the planet to raise things. And I tell you what, my consciousness, I know my consciousness has been raised in the last 3 days with these incredible radio shows that we've had, and everybody you talk to, it seems like their level has just been phenomenally increased, where they just know. They just open their mouth, they just speak, and they know that they're speaking the truth. So yeah, that could be that we've already had a small galactic superwave, or whatever it's called.
And just to touch on what you were saying about the sun, those who are at least 30 years or older, they remember the sun being yellow, and when you look at it, it's white. It's completely a different color.
And I think that even when we were children and we had our crayons out, and if we were to draw a picture, with crayons, almost all of us, if it's an outdoor drawing or whatever, we would make a little yellow sun in the corner with the little rays coming out of it. It would always, you would choose yellow to draw your sun. You wouldn't choose white.
Uh-huh.
It wasn't a white sun. It was a yellow, yellow, yellow sun.
Yes.
So I agree. Something is going on. There's proof right there. Something is happening, and the fact that we can see it on the images, and that you don't hear anything about it on the media, means that it's something that's probably good. Because if it was bad, they would really I would think they'd really make a stink out of it, put a lot of fear porn out there around it. But it's something that they're wanting to hide, which means I think that it's proof that we are actually moving into getting ready for a wild card.
Yes. Now, just to move on to the next one, another possible wild card is the Schumann resonance. And every day on N5D, I've been recording the daily Schumann resonance. But as of, I think, Christmas, they stopped recording it on this Russian website. And I go there every day just to make sure. Now, normally the Schumann resonance has been at 7.83 cycles per second for thousands of years, but since I've been recording it, it's been above 8 every day, and one day it was up to 8.90. So what we're seeing is a rising of the Schumann resonance, and basically that's the heartbeat of the planet. If you don't know what that is, when the planet rises in vibration, the Schumann resonance rises with it. So what we've been seeing is a rising of the Schumann resonance. What this is telling us to do is to really start grounding yourself and getting out in nature and appreciating everything that it's providing and rising in vibration with her. Do you have anything to add, Michelle?
I do. I try to ask a lot of my guests on the radio shows. The number one question that people have is, what am I here to do? And it seems that the overall answer is that if you do nothing else, what you really, number one, came here to do is to be part of this experience of the Earth ascending and humanity going along with it. So if you do nothing else, ground yourself and be a conductor for bringing that energy in and connecting with the planet, and then letting the planet connect back to you, because humans are the ones that are connected to each other. Yes, each one of us is connected to the planet, but as far as the planet raising her vibration, if she connects with us, with me, I can connect with all of humanity through my connection and send and help send that higher vibration from the planet into humans. So it is a symbiotic relationship, but it's more like she needs us to ground the energy coming from the cosmos into her, and then we need her because she turns around and takes that vibration and sends it back to us. So I think that's about. Oh, all I just wanted to say is that again, people are wanting proof. There's your proof. The Schumann resonance has been the same for thousands of years as 7.83, and now they have equipment that can measure it. What they're hiding from us or holding back from us in technology is that there's equipment that could actually measure our own resonance, our hertz, and see if we were actually, what we're vibrating at. And you could probably tell by somebody who's, been doing a lot of drugs or has a lot of attachments to them from energy vampires. You could probably take their readings and it'd be less than somebody who is doing their work and keeping themselves their energy fields clear and has a nice clean clear aura. They're probably vibrating at a higher resonance.
And one other thing too is what we're going to see, if it's a slow process, is things in nature that change. You might see migratory animals, and we've already started to see that with some of the whales and dolphins and stuff. You're going to see anomalies in that area, birds that migrate, butterflies. Also, when you're paying attention to nature, you're going to get personal messages. You might get visited by butterflies, or a squirrel just happens to run across your path or whatever. Look up the meaning of why these happen, because everything happens for a reason. And the Native Americans will tell you that there is a definite meaning to each living thing here on this planet, and they're here to teach us. So look into that as well.
Being aware is, my number one thing in this ascension guide that I write about. Awareness is the first thing, and intention to me is the second thing. But what you were saying about the animals, it's so funny because there have been situations where here in Texas in November, I'm in the house and I'm working on the house. I'm bent over in this uncomfortable position, like with a screwdriver fixing something, and out of the corner of my eye, I'll look over, and there's like a single lone ladybug crawling across the counter at eye level to where right at that moment I would see that ladybug. And I swear to you, I would like stand up and do something and turn around a second later and it's gone, disappeared. So that's kind of like pay attention to that, and you go look it up, and you can type in spiritual meaning of ladybug in Google, for instance, and it'll tell you a message. It's basically a message for you. Pay attention to this, pay attention to that. It's a really good guide to, it's what you basically call riding the wave instead of, falling beneath the waves or just barely floating. You're just basically riding the wave and taking the messages as they come to help out. So I agree with that.
Every day there's messages too. Just pay attention to them, and it honestly doesn't even have to be a living creature. I was talking about this on the New Year's Eve show, where I was taking my German Shepherd Sammy for a walk, and I walked by this one building called the One World Center. And they had the One World Center logo on the one side of the doors, and on the other side they had all these lawyers' names. So it all shows you how you can look at things and just not even notice it. But if you put 1 and 1 or 2 plus 2 together, whichever you prefer, you'll figure it out that it's hidden in plain sight. And as I did mention too, you can also look at things from a different perspective as well. I saw this one address that 3 of the numbers equaled 11, but there was a 2 in front of it, and the way I interpreted it was 2 11s, which is 1111. So, and you'll start seeing things in a completely different perspective.
Larry, did you have anything to add before we move to the next subject?
Not really, no. I was just commenting on the sidebar. I think we should move on to the next subject. That's fine.
All right, the next one is cosmic rays, and those are mass ejections that could possibly mutate our DNA and create a spontaneous evolution, according to David Sereda and his research. And once again, we're talking about probably not the sun that it's hard to explain. Michelle, maybe you could explain the yellow rose theory of the sun. What's blocking it?
Well, Yellow Rose for Texas is a lady who remains anonymous, and she used to post under Old Soul on YouTube, and she, did a lot of the uncovering of the Illuminati and the Archons and the construct that we're in, and basically, she says that there's a mechanical it's a mechanical technology that is over our sun that is keeping the cosmic rays from 100% just blaring in. I mean, we could have ascended a while back. We could have when a massive amount of light or photons does reach our body, then yeah, I mean that's what I'm hoping for. This is what I'm wanting. I mean, we basically turn like on the Star Trek. I can't remember the name of this.
I know the one transformation or.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Basically, a guy's able to be physical body, but at will can turn into his light body, and that's fully vested in as a light being. And that's what I'm ready for. But if there wasn't blocking over the sun, according to Yellow Rose for Texas, this mechanical thing that's blocking the sun, the Stargate, from the photons coming in that direction, from wherever, the center of the cosmos or wherever, we might already be light beings. But that construct is supposed to be breaking down, so let's just say, if the galactic forces are out there, if truly they are breaking down a construct that's blocking some of these rays from coming to us, if that were to happen in an instant, we might just transform into light bodies. I don't know. I mean, honestly, I don't know, but when I think about that, I think that, oh my God, that feels so right. And when I watch, on Star Trek, which Gene Roddenberry was basically dreaming these things, these episodes, you don't just have an imagination that comes up with all this. This is like either past life recall or he had help, with his writers being downloaded with information as well to put it out there for us to think about and to move towards that. That when I think about it, it just feels like, yeah, that's what I want to do. So hopefully this, and that's basically would be repairing the DNA codons to where all of our DNA was intact again. Some people say it's 12-strand DNA, but in reality there are other strands that are etheric that are also cut off as well. But even if we just had 12 strands, we would be, yeah, really. Even the children that are being born now with 3 active strands of DNA, according to the scientists, they're able to study their DNA and can see that they have more of their codons activated than most human beings on the planet. And if it's a slow ascension, then it's going to be that there's going to be more children born with 3 strands of DNA, and their light quotient will affect everybody around them across the planet, and eventually everybody's light quotient will increase enough for those who are on a path of changing. That light quotient will activate their codons and gradually, just like I've been talking about, bringing in the photons and everything. There's several things in play that are going to cause this. It's not just photons coming from the photon belt. It could also be in conjunction with the energy that's coming from the center of the cosmos through our star, which is through our sun, which is a star gate. So if it were something were to happen immediately to where we're no longer cut off from that, then that could be a cosmic wild card.
Now, the thing that I found interesting about the cosmic ray theory is, according to David Sereta's research, there's been a decay in nuclear particles, and when these particles decay, they actually speed up, and it's radiating more energy. And he goes on to say that because of that, that energy field can cause a profound change in our DNA. Now, according to what you were mentioning about Yellow Rose from Texas, the sun is being blocked by a construct right now, which may be blocking, as you mentioned, the total amount of cosmic rays that we are absorbing. So once again, this goes into the whole codon principle of, if our codons were fully turned on, what kind of beings would we be? So.
Yeah, I mean, they say that the fall of Atlantis is when our consciousness was turned with our DNA. They physically mutated our DNA with our physical body, but I think that there's also something else that blocks the consciousness. The intake of photons of light. And so I don't think it was just a matter of changing our physical bodies. And the scientists, the genetic DNA scientists, they have technology to create bodies that can change, turn off the codons. I think it's also they had to block the light coming in as well. And then there's also that theory about the Earth being tilted off its axis. And that as well, perhaps the tilt of the Earth is what cuts off. I'm not sure, because I don't really study a lot of that scientist stuff. Because I know science is kind of flaky. I know it's used against us, put it that way, to create theories to explain these anomalies that people are waking up saying, well, why is this and why is that? In other words, why does the sun have these big, huge black spots on it? And they'll come up with some, answer that sounds logical that's really a lie. But so I don't really get much into the science part of it. But what I do know is that if we were to have what was it? The radiation was less. Greg, what can you repeat exactly what that? Over to the article.
It's the cosmic decay. The decay rates in nuclear particles, and that's causing the particles to actually speed up and radiate energy.
Well, it could have something. It could be a very multi-dimensional aspect, depending on how you're looking at it and what explanation you want to put on it. I don't know a whole lot about that one.
Mm-hmm. Larry?
Yeah, I was sitting here thinking about the Yellow Rose of Texas, and I deal with a few Texans, and it seems like this holds the key. I mean, people are awakening in Texas on a mass number, and it just seems to me like it holds the key, almost like a cosmic Alamo. I mean,
wouldn't that be something?
Yeah, it really would.
I'm here in Texas right now. I'd prefer to be in Florida with Greg, but I have, business to take care of, and wouldn't that be something? If if Texas had a lot to do.
Yeah, it really would. It's almost like something. It's almost like, Michelle, it's pulling you to stay in Texas.
Yeah, you're kind of cutting out. I'm not sure if it's my connection or what, but Helene Lipson is a psychic astrologer, and before our show, our New Year's Eve extravaganza show on Thursday night, there's a 3-hour show that we had on N5D Radio. Before the show, she and I chatted a little bit back and forth on Facebook, and I told her I was in Texas, and she was like, "Oh, wow, why?" And I'm like, "Oh, I got stuff to do," and she's like, she thought into it, felt into it for a few minutes, and she said, there's a very dark, deep pocket in Texas that of energy that, you know, your energy is needed there for that. And I can see, you know, the blocks that are put up in front of me when I try to spend, you know, as much time in Florida. There's always something that draws me back. And I think it's almost like, okay, your job is to do this in Texas, but we're going to let you have a little vacation, a little R&R, and then you got to come back. And it's like, okay, well, let me just figure out what it is and get it transmuted so I can go back to Florida.
Well, there's something here about Florida, too. You know, we have that 99% quartz crystal sand, which is completely unique from any other beach around the world. So there is a reason why, obviously, you've been attracted here, including me. But
yeah, you're attractive, all right. You're like a freaking magnet. It's like,
magnet.
you know, yeah. And there was no doubt whatsoever when we met that there was just no doubt. But yeah, I mean, I think it's sad because on a human level, here we are. Larry's on the Oregon coast. You know, Greg, you're in Florida. I'm in the middle here in Texas. It's like, that's a long way away. And, you know, we're all best of friends. It's like, you know, it would be great if we could all just have a compound and have a love fest and just, you know, have a garden and do, you know, have this community. But we are at a certain place on the planet because we have to be spread out. Because we knew that there were only a certain number of people that were going to awaken first, and it had to be the.
Okay, Michelle, you cut out.
Oh, am I?
You did.
It had to be like the best of the best for people to awaken, and so they had to spread us all over the planet to make sure that we could do what we needed to do.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really it's a lonely job in a way, but once you realize that, it helps to take the loneliness away, and it also does help if you can get that R&R and reset and reboot and reground every now and then too.
Well, you know, Dolores Cannon's daughter, Julia, she was saying how all of us had to be master manifestors in order to incarnate here in the physical, and that includes everyone listening to this. No matter how bad of a person you may think they are, at some point in their lives, they were a master manifestor before they came here, just like you, me, and everyone else. So it's a matter of us really trying to figure out how we get back to that point of manifesting. And it's starting to break down, and you'll see through the law of attraction that when you put that focused energy into something, it happens for you. Michelle can be the first one to attest to this about my proclivity of getting great parking spots. We can go to the beach on a Saturday afternoon at 1 p.m. in the middle of summer or the middle of tourist season, and I'm getting the best spot available because I believe that it's going to be there for me. And you know, that's all, once again, the power of the law of attraction. And you know, if you want to find out more about that, just go to YouTube and type in The Secret full, and you'll be able to watch that whole video. And it really inspired me. And if it wasn't for The Secret, I don't think N5D would exist, along with many other coincidences that led up to it.
I agree. I mean, that's what we're here to do for each other, is to be the witness. Every time I have some kind of huge aha moment, I always call you, Greg, and I just run it by you, and you know, you listen and you're the witness. It's like I have somebody to tell, and that's what's great about Facebook and all these social media things. That's why there was so much fear around bringing up that January 1st agreement for Facebook, is to try to, you know, get people to run away, because we had become such a powerful force in bringing people together, because they know we're spread everywhere across the planet. And you know, like for instance in Texas, in Fort Worth, Texas, the city that I'm from, there's only one metaphysical shop that I know of actually in Fort Worth. The other one is on the edge of Fort Worth and Arlington, but basically it's not a metaphysical town whatsoever. In a place like Sarasota, they have 4 or 5, but there's a lot of metaphysical people. where you are, Larry, in Portland. I think Oregon in itself is more liberal, has more, down to earth people who are connecting with the planet and nature. There's a shithole here basically in Texas, and I'm in it. But just knowing that I'm here for that reason helps.
Yeah, I can only imagine, Michelle, because like you must have a stronger soul than me, because I got to get stationed in the Cush part up in here, the East Coast of Lemuria in Oregon, Washington, British Columbia, Mount Shasta. But it's true. It's yeah. Even in small towns here in Oregon, you find shops that are into that kind of thing, and people. The consciousness here is just it's just above everybody else in America. And I hate to say that because I don't want to offend anybody, but out here we just think differently, and it's just, even the people here that are kind of stuck in the 3D illusion, they still don't judge like they would. I've heard stories about how it is to live in the South and live in other places, the Midwest, back in New York, and people have their own agenda and they judge and they're so busy, wrapped up in their own life. But out here, it's just different. I can't put it into words. You'd have to live here to understand it. People just kind of live and let live out here. It's kind of a more of a responsive instead of a reactive society out in the Northwest. And, and when I say the Northwest, Oregon, Washington, B.C., but that includes about the top third of California. Shasta, the Redwoods. People, yeah, definitely. And it just seems like people think clearer out here. And you're so right. That's just how it is out here. And we take it for granted that it's like that as residents. And I can only imagine how it is in Texas and in some places. I've heard the horror stories, so I don't know. And then
there's other hot spots, like Sedona, go to.
Yeah, Arizona, and you take Florida for instance. Okay, well, there's the South, and that gets the stereotype for people being unawakened. But then there's Florida. Florida's like that. I don't know, that hot spot that they get the same kind of sightings that we do out here in Oregon. Yet they're on the East Coast, so far away from us, but Florida's like kind of a safe haven in the at the bottom of unawakened arrogance. I don't know how to really put it, but
you haven't been to a drum circle on a Sunday night on the 99% quartz crystal sand.
Larry, you haven't been to Florida, have you?
You know what, you guys? I've never been east of the Rockies my whole life. One time for a business trip, I had to go to Albuquerque, New Mexico, and that's as far east as I've ever been. Besides that, I mean, you're talking, I've been to Vegas. That's it. Boise, Idaho. That's as far east as I've ever been in my life. Yes. I know,
well,
sad.
The video, I've put out a few videos of the drum circle, but you really got to be there in that energy and on that sand to really understand what kind of a metaphysical community is really here in South Florida.
Well, and that's just perfect for you, Greg. And I really enjoy it too. But I think Larry's got his little slice of heaven that's perfect for him. And
yep.
I think where everybody is at is just perfect for them at the moment. Yeah. But yeah, I love being there, and eventually, I hope I can teleport over there.
That would be great. We're going to move on to the next one. That's called the Galactic Ribbon and the Galactic Bubble. And apparently there's an energy field on the edge of the Milky Way galaxy called the Ribbon. And it's a long band of high-energy particle emissions that could feasibly alter our DNA. And then there's also the galactic bubble, which appears to be growing in size, and is below the Milky Way galaxy. And there's a picture of that on the article for the Cosmic Wildcard. So both of these, once again, can alter our DNA in profound ways in the blink of an eye.
Now, Larry, you were talking about where the Earth was in the galaxy and the arm and everything. Do you have anything to add to that? But before we started the show, you were talking about that.
Okay, remind me again what I was talking about.
The fact that where the Earth is, I think that we were put out in one of the farthest parts of the arm of galaxy.
Exactly, exactly. And it's funny, it's really like synchronicity, and it's so amazing. Greg had mentioned David Sereda. Okay, so the other night, I went to lay down and I turned on the radio. I was going to listen to some sports radio. It wouldn't tune in, and I turned it to Coast, and of all people, David Sereda was the guest, and he was talking about that we're kind of in that. There's an outer arm of the galaxy, right, that is still like it's got warfaring planets, and they're still stuck in the illusion because there's about 1 trillion Earth-like planets in our galaxy that we haven't discovered yet. They're still on that warfaring level, but then you have another plane you move to where it's a more enlightened planet, and people aren't so much into that. And the Earth is kind of in the middle right now, ascending into that. We're on that outer level, but yet we're making that move. We're making our move right now to go into that level where we don't war with each other, where we're starting to understand more. We're becoming more of a higher 4D society where we are more responsive instead of reactive. I mean, we know everybody's business, but yet we're not judgmental. So everybody kind of goes along and gets along, and and you still have those warfaring planets though that are on the outside that are kind of like learning and evolving, and the spirits and the angels and and the Pleidian guides and the Archonic guides, they can't really get involved with that too much except for incarnating there to try to help them to understand that that's not the way to be, but you still have that issue. And I feel like Gaia is kind of moving. It just really resonated with me what he was saying. We're kind of moving from that warfaring society into more of a loving and understanding. I mean, we still got a long way to go, but that's just kind of how I understand the process.
Well, personally, I think that with this precession of the equinoxes and with cycles of cycles within cycles, I think that the ancients knew that we were going to be preparing for this lifetime that we're in right now. And I think that every lifetime that we had, if we broke into a higher consciousness in that lifetime, or say that somehow we got around the mind wipe where they wiped our memory before we were born, that we did everything we could to prepare for this lifetime right now. Like every lifetime we had experiences that we could now draw upon for information, for knowledge on how to do a certain thing, so we could prepare for this lifetime now, because all of the cycles were coming to one end to where the key just kind of lines up. It's like opening a safe, where all the cycles line up at one time. And I think that maybe causes this anomaly that is called the galactic bubble. I'm not an expert in the field, but that's kind of my intuition. That's what it's telling me.
I find it
Michelle.
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry, Greg, can I go? I want to ask Michelle one question. Michelle, you've mentioned to me, I know, and Greg knows this, but you mentioned to me, a reading that you had done by Andrew Bartzis, right? And that there was like a block. Do you think? Do you think this ties? Do you think that this ties into all this? I mean, your consciousness. Any of this? I'd like to get your take on that.
Well, what happened is I went to Mount Shasta to a conference where the galactic historian Andrew Bartzis. This is before he actually came to Greg's conference as a speaker. He was there with Rob Potter, who is the one who is in direct contact with Cobra, and Rob Potter is also an ET contactee, and I had followed some of Rob's stuff, and he's legitimate as far as ET contactee, and I thought it'd be great to see both of them, and I really wanted a reading because one of the things that I was desperate to find out is what was my purpose here. And it was interesting because it's almost like Andrew had already took a sneak peek at my record and could see that it was redacted but didn't say anything. And I demanded to be, I will go anywhere after the conference. I want my reading. And he kept scheduling people every night after the conference, like 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock. he freaking scheduled me like to come out to the into the springs, one of those. They were staying out there by the springs, the hot springs, and I sat out in the cold on this porch, waiting for my reading for like 2 or 3 hours, freezing. That's when I met. Lance was in there actually doing some of the actual recording of the Galactic Historian shows that Lance White that he has up on the internet, and I met Kelly Fluke, and I met Jeff Gates at that particular conference as well. But after all that waiting, it's so funny. My angels were probably, had their head down. That picture on Facebook where they had their head down. They look all embarrassed. I got in there, and he basically said, your records are redacted, which means that there's this black marker that, in my way of seeing it, there's this black marker that has everything blurred out. I mean, I wanted to know who my star family was. I wanted to know about past lifetimes and what I'm here to clear so I could get to it and get it done and move on and do what I'm here to do and get the hell out of here. And I was so frustrated, but he said that my soul, that a reason that could be is that my soul wanted me to figure it out for myself and not have somebody tell me. So that would be more of a push for me, I would think, to go within and to learn how to connect with my higher self and do it. If somebody told you everything, where you were from, what you're here to do, what kind of, incentive would that be for you to do the very best that you could? And also, if you're here to do a pretty important job, you really don't want other beings to be able to read your record and to see what you're here to do. So that's kind of how the way that I took it. It might be a good thing that it is redacted. I'll surprise you guys one day.
Yeah. Yeah, you already have. You just you leave me speechless because I really feel that way too. Like something has been blocked off because we're meant to go within and figure this out for ourselves. And I don't think that's everybody. I think that's leaders and people that are motivators, like you are, like I would like to be, like Greg definitely is. And I just think that some of that was blocked off from us because that's how we wanted to have it. Sorry, I dropped my microphone. My dog's trying to snuggle up with me. But,
well, I don't see myself as any different.
But yeah, I totally agree. I totally agree with you.
I'm just observant. I'm just trying to put the clues together. And it's hard to realize, little old me, that I could have such an impact on the planet. But I mean, I don't know, Simon yesterday in our interview said that because of the things that I was doing for humanity, that just with my actions alone, that he could see that I had moved things forward 10 to 15 years for humanity. So the point being, not to toot my horn, that's of course not what I'm here, that's not what I'm doing, but the point is, if I can do this, guys, gosh, if we get 5 people doing what I'm doing, that could make a huge difference. But hell, let's get 8 billion people doing what I'm doing, and let's just see what we can create.
And it doesn't have to be on such a grand magnitude either. As long as you're working in humanity's best interests, you're helping, and it's all greatly appreciated. As long as you're moving forward on your spiritual progression, thank you. I sincerely
absolutely. Just being here is good enough. Is another. There's so many levels of what people are here to do. Just being here is good enough for some people. Just staying alive and being on the planet.
Mm-hmm. Now, you were talking about the importance of us being here right now at this point in space and time. Now, I've had several past life regressions, and as it turns out, I predominantly come back at major points in time. I was there at the end of Atlantis, where I was a scientist in charge of the genetic manipulation of animals and insects. And I was there with the Maya after the Spanish Inquisition, and they tried to get me to convert to Christianity. And here I am again. It's an important time that we're in right now, and I know something huge is going to be happening.
I do too. And speaking of that, the next section is the mass UFO landing.
Mm-hmm.
As on the Cosmic Wildcard. How would you react to it if out of the blue a mass UFO landing occurred? What if this was your galactic family wanting to bring you back home? If you had to make a decision right now without being able to consult friends and family, would you leave or would you stay with Mother Earth? And I talked about this with an actual, ET hybrid yesterday, Simon, and from the consensus that I've come to find out here, unless the planet was going to be blown up, our benevolents are not going to land. However, with that being said, how would we know? I said, what would we do? And you have to learn how to feel through things. When you see angels, or if Jesus were to appear to you, you would have to feel that energy to see if that's a being posing as Jesus or if there's really a Jesus that's appearing to you. And the same would be true if a UFO landed in your backyard. They're very tricky. These archons are very tricky, and the grays as well have mind control technology that can put feelings of love in, directed at you. That's what they did with the reincarnation tunnel, with the white light at the end of the tunnel, and make you feel like you're going home. It's a familiar feeling of love. They can project that at you. But I think that as we've brought more light into our bodies, with our physical body speaking to us, we can learn to discern, and we'll know if a UFO were to land. If we're immediately frightened, if we have some kind of heart palpitation, if our adrenaline gets really high and it's more of a fear based than it is of an excitement, I would not get on that UFO.
Well, I'll tell you, the temptation and the excitement would be there for most people, but what you were talking about yesterday and what you've talked to me about, what if you had galactic family? What if you had galactic children that, okay, a UFO lands in Texas and your children are there, and they're like, Mommy, then what?
That would be a really hard thing to figure out. I mean, it's been one of the things that's been foremost in my mind in my studies is what if? I mean, because Ari Copeland she has a radio show and she has a website called 2012 Emergence. She says that she does have ships that appear above her house. Her galactic family, does hover above her house, and they go in and out. They cloak themselves, or they go in and out of dimensions or whatever. But she's been in contact with them, and a lot of things that she's talked about have really resonated with me. And she just basically said that, folks, the benevolent beings are not going to land in your backyard. I mean, first of all, we have the government have their own crafts. The government has military, and the government does not want UFOs to land to come pick us up, or to, they don't want to take their food source away, number one. But number two, they would be caught covering up UFO extraterrestrial landings since the 50s or even earlier, from lying to us all this time. So they don't want that to happen, and I have a feeling that they would be shooting, at them, because they have laser technology and craft and everything else. So I just don't think that the benevolents are going to land. But what we do have to watch out for real quick is that the archons, they take something and they twist it, completely backwards. And so what they could do is have this false flag UFO alien attack, to where there's an attack. Either they use their craft and they shoot laser beams and they blow shit up here. And then there's these other, supposedly, like these other reptilians that come in, swoop down, land, take care of either the hologram war that's happening, or go ahead and just, shoot down the triangular UFOs that the government has. Basically, the reptilians are going to come here and say, you have reptilian brain, you have reptilian DNA, we've saved you. We're here to help bring you out of this slump and let's go into 1,000 or 2,000 years of peace, when all of that is actually a deception.
Now, in the chat room, Barbara said that she would stay here, but Larry, you said that it depends on the circumstances.
Yeah, and I think Michelle touched on a little bit. If we were in that moment, it's like I would really feel like I would have to go within. Maybe, you have galactic children out there, and you have, God, it's so funny. It's like you would just have to go within that now moment. Okay, if it happened, and the beings that were talking to you, you would just have to really use your discernment and decide what was best at that time. I mean, I don't think that any of us can make that decision unless we were in that now moment. I mean, I agree with Barbara a little bit. I think we have a mission to complete here, but it would depend on the circumstance. And I know, like the Pleiadians, they would never land, you know what I mean, unless they really needed to. They cloak. They don't use their technology to destroy, government ships or government planes that are coming at them. They really cloak, and they don't want to have to do that. So if it was them communicating with me, I would have to really think about it in the now moment and weigh what was going on here on Earth and whether I want to get out of here or stay with it. And I feel like, okay, I can't really give a legitimate answer, and I feel kind of ststupid because I can't. I don't know.
No,
I would have to go within
though.
in that now moment.
See, Yellow Rose for Texas throws another, whole perspective on this, and she says that when the machine breaks down that has kept the Stargate, closed off from us, that, according to what she's saying, we're going to have to get in some kind of pod in order to be able to go through the eye. You've always heard about the eye, and of course the Eye of Horus and all this. This is the Stargate. In order to get through that and get out of this construct, we would have to go into what she's called pods. And I don't know if I think that's probably a spaceship. So, if it is a hard one, that could be what is part of this cosmic wild card. If you want to just use your imagination and think of, well, okay, all of a sudden, guess what? It's time to go. We're going through the Stargate. And they land. Well, I see. Here's what I think would happen in that case, though. I don't think they were going to physically land in your backyard. I think that, and she says that everybody's marked for a particular family that they're from, and they have a homing beacon on them. But I think they would hover over the city, and that we would just naturally somehow levitate up towards the ship if that's part of the cosmic wild card. And whether it be that the Earth is not, just basically the Earth has said, screw this, I've had enough of this, it's time for a flood or a fire, like it's always been each time. Or whether it be that, CERN was about to be used and it couldn't be stopped. Or basically, we've just done everything that we came here to do. Could be any of those things as to why they come to pick, our star family would come to pick us up.
Michelle, I was going to go back to David Sereda again. He was mentioning that, and he was mentioning how he studied Noah's Ark growing up in the Bible, and then it came to him that it was just a craft, and that it was hovering, and people needed to get out of here, and some of the people went on there, and it's just like, I feel like what you're saying, right? This already took place. This was like Noah's Ark, the end of Atlantis, Lemuria, whatever, and people just got out of here, and in that now moment, they realized, and they just went with it, and it really strikes home, because you're right, they would hover, they may not land, but if you want to get out of here, you could in that situation. And
yeah, I would think that there'd be like a column of light that comes down that you actually step into.
Yes, ma'am.
They would home in on you and send down a column of light that you would step into. But yeah, so this is why it's important to learn how to go within and learn how to connect with your higher self, because I do believe that if there were an evacuation that would need to take place, And I know that there's people like Michael Elysion who has worked with Rob Potter that I mentioned before. You know, these guys are true into this galactic stuff 100%. But they always, Michael Elysion has always said that they will come get us if it's over, if it's done. You know, they'll come get us and pick us up. But that I would think that if you learn to go within, they'll message you. They'll send a thought form into your head. Go outside right now. It's just like no different than when you remember that you didn't take the trash out, and you oh, I didn't take the trash out, and then you go take the trash out, and 5 minutes later the trash truck comes. You just barely got it out on time. You know, it's just a thought form that's placed into your head. I think that would happen. It's like, hey, go outside. You know, let me go. Oh, I hear something. Let me go outside, and then you go outside, and there it is. Then you know. It's just like all of a sudden you know. So surely going within is a way to.
I have to bring the trash out tonight. Thank you.
There you go. See?
Yeah, it's funny. It's funny you mentioned that, Michelle. Mine comes on Monday morning at about 3:30 a.m. and the truck goes by twice in our neighborhood, and it's like a rolling disco. It's loud, and there's red and green and yellow lights on it. So.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
That's. You know what? That's not a trash truck, Larry. Sorry, but that's like that's like the ship that you go on when you're asleep. Duh. No, I'm kidding.
Yes. No, yeah, there you go, synchronicity again, because I thought that already. Yeah, Greg,
Yeah.
sorry.
That's okay. Now, if I knew the Earth was going to be destroyed, like Michelle said, I would leave. But I have a source that said that there's an event that's going to happen around the year 2023, which is the end of Pluto and Capricorn, that might change my mind. And I might write an article about that on N5D, but I don't think people are ready for it yet. It's a very controversial article. I kind of touched on it a little on the air with Michelle on our New Year's Eve show, but I don't think people are ready for this one. So I'm just going to wait and see on that. But if there were a cataclysmic event that I knew was about to happen, yeah, I would.
Well,
leave.
you know, it's all a matter of timelines. How, you know, human consciousness will take us to the timeline that needs to play out. But the next part ties into what we're talking about, called the harvest. And, you know, we don't have to say much about this, only because the one reason that you would have any reason not to get on a spaceship is because of the harvest. They're already harvesting our energies, but let's just say that they have an opportunity to leave this planet. Let's just say pick another planet like Mars, or even the Moon, which is a hollow construct, and start civilization of the Earth, of humanity, inside of one of those constructs. They need human bodies that they can replicate. Or even I hate to say this, but even keep alive and torture to be able to live off of their energy, as long as that human body is alive. So they could definitely come down, and for those believers who know of extraterrestrials, and they are so absolutely miserable and just waiting and wanting for their star family to come pick them up. Well, if they can pose in the false light tunnel after you die and talk you into reincarnating again, why couldn't they pose as your star family and come down and basically pick people up and harvest them to take them to start new civilizations on in other places?
Yes, it's like that Twilight Zone episode, To Serve Humans, where it wasn't about the ETs serving us, but us being served to the ETs.
Food, yeah. I don't want to get into the grotesque parts, but some of these beings actually physically have the teeth that, I mean, they're carnivore reptilians. They actually drink the blood, eat the flesh, can rip bones apart and stuff, and sacrifice babies and things. So this is the rituals that occur on Saturnalia, in Christmas, certain times of the year where the energies are high, and they're able to take that energy, not only live off of the blood and the nutrients from a human body, but also the energy from the whole ritual, from when when a being dies, they can take that and store that fear energy when the soul leaves the body, and it has that imprint. They first of all they steal the soul right there. They're able to trap that soul, so they can put it in another body. But then they also store up the fear energy that comes from that. This just has to stop, and that's what we're here to do. And it's not good to focus on these things. But on the other hand, if we hadn't learned about this and we didn't know it was going on, we wouldn't know how important our jobs were. And we are much stronger than them. We are connected to Source. We are powerful beings, and they are losing their power and losing their energy source. So we needed to know about them to know what was happening.
I agree. And it's like I mentioned in the article. There are archonic forces that are out there that, like Michelle was talking about, that are there to basically usurp your energy and your soul and everything that's about you. So if there is a harvest, I know that it's talked about in a positive way through the law of one channelings, but just be careful and use your own discernment about whether you really want to be harvested like an ear of corn.
Yes, because we don't want to be put back into another level, perhaps on the astral realm, and be tricked into thinking that we've just gone to heaven. Because from what we understand from various teachings, such as Wes Penray or Cameron Day, heaven is a construct in the fourth dimension, to where that's where you go in between lives, before they can either shoot you right back down into another body with their technology, or you can go to the pearly gates if that's what you think that from religion, from the programming of religion, that's what you think you might be experiencing, and they'll let you go there for a while. They'll let you take a couple of classes, hang around in the garden. There's all these libraries you can go hang out at, but all of that is construct in this matrix. Now, there may be on the real organic creation, before it was copied and turned into what we're experiencing, there may be something similar, but they have copied it, and then they kind of trick you. They let you think you're all, everything's cool. They give you your life review. You sit in the gardens and talk to your guides and stuff, but then that's how they get you to come back. They say, how do you feel about treating that person? They show you in your life review, you got angry. Maybe you did something really horrible to somebody. How do you feel about that? And, your own guilt gets to you, and you say, I need to go back and balance that karma out. So, the harvest could definitely include not just taking you to another planet to start a human civilization of slavery and a food source, but it could also mean tricking you into being complacent and going to one of the levels in the astral realm that they call the heavens, which are the higher fourth dimensional levels. Hell is basically where we are at, and the inner earth dimensions, the second dimension and the first dimension, everything is so slow and slow vibrating. And we are actually existing in all those levels at the same time, but our consciousness is focused right here into this body, and that's what part of changing your consciousness is. We will have to go through the astral realms. We may experience the good parts of it, though. People who have fear will be experiencing the bad parts of it, the hell, because when you hit the fourth dimension, whether it be, whether we ascend all the way through and get out some way, we may have to hit the fourth dimension first. We may even be in the fourth dimension. What's so crazy? This may be hell. We may be in the fourth dimension and not realize it. But anyway, if you're carrying fear or anger or anything, in the astral realm, things are instantly manifested. So whatever your thoughts are is what's going to happen to you. A really good movie that depicts that is What Dreams May Come with Robin Williams, if you haven't seen that yet.
Yeah, that's a great flick. I love that one. You know, I tell people a lot of times, you know, if a UFO, I ask them actually, if a UFO were to land in your backyard, do you think that the ETs would have money or a Bible? And you know, I bet there are other planets who have money and religion and use that for subservience, control, and conformity. My gut feeling is that this template that we live on Earth has been used many times. This isn't the first time it's happened through religion and money. I bet this has happened time and time and time again, not only on this planet, but on other planets as well.
I agree, because there are more human extraterrestrial bodies on other planets than, you know, in this. I'm not sure if it's this galaxy or if it's just this solar system or what, but I think it's the galaxy. It's mostly human extraterrestrials. So be surprised. I mean, there's also the Star Wars Cantina. There's all kinds of different looking beings in the universe, but I'm thinking this galaxy is mostly human.
Yeah, I'm guessing the higher dimensional ones, though, you know, sixth, seventh, eighth dimension and higher, whatever, they don't have money and Bibles and religion and all that crap. Go ahead, Larry.
Yeah, exactly. Humans are everywhere throughout our galaxy. That's what's coming to me. But yet we were seeded here originally from somewhere else. So, but predominantly, our galaxy and our solar system is human. It's a humanoid type of form. And you're right, Greg. I mean, I think when you get up into the fifth, sixth, seventh dimension, again, those warfaring planets that lay on the outside of the, you know, of the system, you know, they have that kind of a system. And I kind of wonder sometimes, you know, if that came from the Orions or wherever, but I just think it's a lower consciousness level, and it's a game because there's really no need for money. I mean, why do you need money? It's a barter system, and then it's about a control game. You know, I mean, all the resources are there for everybody to have everything. So it's not about money by the top elites controlling this place. It's about power. And you know, and I'm so spot on with you. You guys are about 2 or 3 seconds ahead of me in consciousness, and it's just amazing. You know, I totally agree with everything that's being said.
I think it's mostly about energy. I mean, I think it's basically a construct that is built so they can get energy from us. The human body is a tool. It's an energy generator, and it's a creation. And they've trapped our souls, and they have taken our souls and keep putting them down into bodies, which are energy generators, over and over again. So I think that they took the human body, which was created for third dimensional physical experience, where but we were always connected to source, and we could manifest a body or we could unmanifest it and just be our light body, just like on the Star Trek episode. But what they did is they lured us into their construct, and they talked us into incarnating into one of their bodies that they changed, and they cut off that connection to source. So it's all about energy to me. In my opinion, money is a form of energy, but it's because they can't. They don't have their own energy source, and they're dying.
But Michelle, what do you think? Do you think that they feed off of? Okay, we're down in these dense bodies. Do you think they feed off of our blood and bones and, you know, our teeth and this manipulation we're caught into? Do you think they feed off that physical form that we're stuck in at all? I mean, you know what I mean? Does that make any sense? Do you think that, I mean, with our light bodies, of course, if we're ascended, it feels like, yeah, they couldn't feed off of us. But I'm wondering if they're feeding off of that lower vibration in this body that we're stuck in.
I think there are certain races of extraterrestrials that do physically need blood and flesh to live off of, and they not only that, but they enjoy it. But I think the majority of the Archons, the higher level beings, the Archons control the reptilians control the Greys control the Illuminati. I think the higher level of beings are just energy. It's energy vampirism, and then like I said, there are a few of the reptilians that do enjoy eating the flesh and blood, but It's mostly, they can also, by the way, just harvest any kind, they can harvest negative energy and positive energy. We are energy generators. It was a brilliant plan to create a body that once they trapped souls, they could keep shooting it down into that body and put a veil over their eyes and let them forget that they're here as food. We're basically food, but more of an energy than physical. But we have an emotional body, which they don't, which a lot of the Greys don't have. And the emotional body is energy in motion. It's an energy generator. So whether it's happiness or sadness, it creates energy. Now, if you're happy, you're going to vibrate. You're going to create higher vibrating, fast. The energy is going to vibrate faster, moves faster. And if you're in despair, or you're sad, or you're angry, that energy is going to vibrate at a slow level, and that's really the kind they like, is that slow, dense vibration.
Do you think that they like to keep us sad, like plagued with little emotions in life and things that are bothering us, and just anything that comes up? Do you think that they feed off that, like when we're worried about, like Michelle, for instance? I know that you've been wanting to go to Florida, get your life started, you and Greg do your thing, and then you're trying to sell your house and you're trying to do all that, and your emotions. Do you think that they like to feed off of those little things that are bothering you?
I think that this whole construct was created to create negative situations where they could feed off of, including the ELF transmissions and the mind control things that they send to lower our vibration. When you have a low vibration, that's when your thoughts become desperate. That's how depression kicks in. All of these things, I think our bodies were created specifically to experience these lower vibrational energies and emotions so they can have food. It's simply, if you want to look at it from the highest picture without being outside of the matrix, that's what the matrix is created for. That's why the bodies were modified, and that's basically what we are. We are negative energy generators. And if you just look around, that's why we are changing this now by the people, the souls who are strong, and they're happy. You've got people. Well, Larry, you and I, we've talked about this before. We've got the special needs children and the special needs. Mine's a sister. Yours is a child of yours that are basically happy no matter. They don't even know what's going on in the world. They are immune from the pressure and stress and the whole system that was created to keep us under bondage and slavery and control and keep us depressed and always fighting. Those people are actually changing the consciousness of the planet because they're always happy. They have their moments. You really know when they're angry because they throw these fits and everything. But most of the time they're laughing, happy, doing things they'd love to do. That's what's going to change and free humanity from this construct. Is changing it from negative to positive.
All around them, and it's just amazing. And I know you have a sister, and I have a son that's like that, and they're just quantum beings, basically, is what I think, and it's just amazing. And it seems like they're immune from that Archon. They're immune from the Archons feeding off of them, and it reminds me. I wanted to touch on this real quick. Okay, so. And not to bring up Coast to Coast again, and I don't even know what the episode was, but years ago I was listening, and these two guys came on, and they talked about an experience they had, and not to bring up drugs, but they were on LSD, and what they saw was these beings, these creepy beings that were feeding off of people, that were feeding off of their fears, they were feeding off of their blood, and they said they came to the realization that the humans weren't the top of the food chain here. Right, it was another level, in 4D. It was these beings that were feeding off of them, and that just kind of freaked me out at the time. And it really resonates though, because maybe it's true. These things are feeding off of us. There are fears, our body, and keeping us a low vibration and worried. And
that's why it's up to each one of us to change our thoughts and to change our vibration, and that's it. I mean, that's I said the first thing that you can do is just be here, is being here. Well, the second thing that you can do if you really want to do something is to work on yourself and to change your vibration. If you're in a desperate situation, change it. If your nature can help you get out of a funk, raise your vibration. Do things that make you happy. These are things that I write about all the time, and that's the basics. Then there's other people that are here to spread the word and to study these beings. No, we are at the bottom of the food chain, and not only that, but we don't even know who we are anymore. That's the thing, is that we're caught in the Truman Show. Whereas the Truman Show, people, it's a little bit different, because the little twist is that they were watching, they had a TV show around Truman. They had an artificial environment. He didn't even know that everybody was watching him and everything, but that's what's happening. But it's also, they left out the little part where they're feeding off of our energies. There are, if we had those glasses, those Roddy Piper glasses, sunglasses, we might be able to look at someone and see a reptilian entity attached to them on the back of their neck. Maybe a head sticking out on the side of a human head, peeking out from behind. A lot of times the number one thing that they're doing, that they're siphoning besides religious worship, is sexual energy. They can't come in and stay, or else they would be stuck in our situation and have to basically be a third-dimensional being. So what they do is they pop in and they take energy, and then they pop out into the fourth dimension. They pop in and pop out. Now they're just on the cusp of the third dimension and fourth dimension where they merge, so they don't become physical. But if you're I've read Eve Lorgan's material. I've had her on a radio show, and there are many people that since we are shifting up in dimension, we're kind of getting close to merging with that another level, to where you could see dead people, you could see all the astral beings, and they kind of phase in and out sometimes. And there's people that are having sex with their husbands, and all of a sudden they see an astral being come in right before their husband's about to have an orgasm, and is there for the orgasm and then disappears. They're actually being able to see, and it freaks the hell out of them, if you can imagine. So yes,
there's actually one form of tantric sex where you look in each other's eyes, maintain that focus, and at some point the person actually morphs into some kind of animal. It could be a jaguar or cougar or something, and you get the basic animal instinct out of that person, but you have to wonder exactly what's happening and how that metamorphosis occurred.
I mean, damn, it's so true, Greg. I mean, that's just a big part of the New Age spirituality is to have a Kundalini experience, to raise that Kundalini, the serpent, the energy that's coiled like a serpent at the base of the spine. I mean, if it's true that that's what they're doing, well, hell, I've been trying to tell people to have these Kundalini awakening experiences, and that must be like the ultimate energy vampirism for them. It must be like the creme de la creme to have people going to meditations and learning how to raise that Kundalini energy and having that awakening of their Kundalini, where it's really massively flowing up through their chakras, because that's how they can connect, is through your chakras, and just siphon it right off.
And honestly, I'm still undecided on that, about the chakras and the Kundalini, whether that's a positive or negative thing. At this point, I'm indifferent. I'm fascinated by both aspects of it, and I'm just delving in further deeper. But I can't say definitively right now whether the Kundalini or the clearing of the chakras are a good or a bad thing.
Well, see, here's the deal. I think it's just like everything else. They took the body, the human template, which has, in order to be physical, you need your chakras. You need to have those energy centers, because that's what attaches your emotional body, your astral body. All those different layers of your aura are connected to your body through your chakras. But see, that's where they came in, and they figured out how to make it where they could attach to them and suck your energy that way. So they basically took the template and decided this is how we're going to siphon energy. So yeah, there's people that are getting rid of their chakras. I don't understand that, because you need your chakras and to be physical. Now perhaps there's something we don't know. Maybe they're already figured out how to phase in and out a physicality. So I don't know anything any more about that. But
well, Michelle, I'd like to jump in a second. My thought always is and I could be completely wrong, but like I'm really into my chakra system, but I get this as a Pleiadian soul. I get this feeling like the Kundalini is almost like a reptilian manipulation to kind of choke our chakras. And I don't know where I'm going with this. I'm still trying to process and figure it all out, but I just feel like the Kundalini, I just don't vibe with it, and I feel like it's kind of like a snake sent in there to manipulate and to choke our chakras. And I mean, if that makes sense, I'm just throwing that out there.
Well, yellow rose for Texas. Now, I keep talking about other people's works, but you just have to use your own discernment as to what you feel. But, she talks about the reptilian family all came from a branch of the tree of life called the snake family. Even, the reptilians and even, all of the other snakes, the reptilians are part of this snake family branch. That doesn't mean that all reptilians are bad. Doesn't mean that all snake beings, there are beings that manifest in the form of a snake. You see you see in ancient paintings, you see snakes everywhere. Humans with snake heads, or humans with snake, human heads, human torso, snake tails. So it's not that all reptilians are bad, not that all snakes are bad, or not that all mantids are bad or good, but it's just that there's a certain branch of the tree of life, which is different DNA templates of life as a physical being, whether it be a tree, a plant, a flower. There's the nature branch, there's the human branch, there's the snake branch, and part of that little branch of the snake branch are the ones that became a very small portion of the tree of life, completely copied the whole tree of life and took everything over in this existence. So anytime you refer to snakes like that, it just reminds me of Set, Lilith. These are all part of the underworld that is in the fourth is in the astral realm, which is in the fourth dimension, and they have the upper hand because they had the upper hand because they are able to vibrate out of our reality. It doesn't mean they're better because they can vibrate at a faster rate. It just means that they're on a different level of existence than we are, and we've been cut off from that level, from seeing them. That's what this raising consciousness and everything is all about, is getting us back to a level playing ground to where we can see what we're dealing with. And that could be the way that we get out of this is once their hand is played, once we can see them, just like the movie They Live. If we had the glasses, well, we if everybody had glasses where they could see who the posers are and who's got an entity attached to them, sucking that. I mean, that would end everything. We could all know what was happening. So yeah, I'm glad you asked that question for anybody who's listening to this.
I just want to make one point about the snake. I was watching a Graham Hancock video about ayahuasca, and he said if the snake approaches you, and opens his mouth, you're supposed to jump right into it. And I've always wanted to do an ayahuasca journey, several of them actually, and I can't wait for that to happen. Now, if you look at like the origins of the snake and go through the Bible, the snake is portrayed as basically this, being that we're supposed to fear or whatever. But traditionally, in all the other lore before that, it was a very worshipped being. And like I said, through the ayahuasca experience, from what I've been reading about, it's a very friendly and knowledgeable creature. So once again, it brings me back to the Kundalini and the chakras on whether that is a good or a bad thing. And if it's a benevolent creature that is trying to help us, then I'm open for anything at this point.
What do you guys think about, they talk about, Sitchin talks about Enlil and Enki, the two brothers that were fighting over Earth. One was the light, one was the word. I'm wondering if those two were just here to manipulate humanity, and it was just a game to get this us versus them, this diversity. And it wasn't that Enlil and Enki disagreed with each other. It was just that they were here to create this game where we were stuck in this perpetual us against them thing when we're really all one. It's like they were here to keep us divided, and I'm not sure what the agenda was, whether it was just they wanted to fleece the planet for our gold, and then they wanted to manipulate us. But I don't know. I just think that something like that is a miss, because we just stay divided over the little.
Greg?
I'm here.
Oh,
Actually, what I think is, if you think about it, that's the origin of gold and the importance of gold. Gold is just another. It's like a rock, If you don't put a value on it, then it means nothing. So we were brainwashed into thinking that gold is all powerful, and yeah, it probably does have something to do, if the story is true, about their need for it for their atmosphere. But it's once again, you're putting your energy into something that is what a perceived value, but really, what is the value? It's just another element that's on this planet that we should all be grateful for.
What's your take on Enlil and Enki, Greg?
It bounces back and forth. I've read so many different variations right now. Enlil's the good guy, and then Enlil's the bad guy, depending on who you talk to, and all the different versions of who they might be, Yahweh, Yeshua, so on and so forth. It can be very convoluted. So, just whenever you're doing that reading, and we have a bunch of articles on N5D about that, just use your own discernment. I do think that, I do believe the creator story. It makes perfect sense, because those are one of the oldest forms of literature we have to base everything else on. But then again, the Bible's an old piece of literature, and that was written by man to control man. So who's to say that these cuneiform texts aren't the same?
Well, I agree 100% with Larry in that whether the brothers Enlil and Enki were aware of it or not, I think that Father Anu, the head of the Anunnaki race, sent them to Earth and banished them here to duke it out and to cause the dissension on the planet, so that basically they could have human civilizations that would always be at war with each other or fighting with each other, so they could harvest energy from us.
Yeah. Right?
Yeah, I think it's just a total deception. And I mean, Greg, you were talking about gold, and we talked about gold. Really, in 3D, the reality of it is it's worthless to do anything with it. You can't really build anything with it. It's kind of a worthless material here. And yet, it's so stuck in our Akashic memory that a lot of people are like, gold, get greedy, like gold, buy gold. I've got all this gold, and I'm searching for gold, and I'm panhandling for gold. And really, what the hell can it do? There's nothing really like substantial that we can use that for to build anything or to make anything. So I just kind of wonder if that's caught in our Akashic memory about being stuck in slavery here, and digging out of this gold. You got all these gold mines in South Africa, for instance, that are thousands of feet deep, but hundreds of thousands of years old, and obviously the technology was far superior to ours, and Michael Tellinger talks about this, and it just, you know, I just wonder what the hell the deal is with gold, because there's really nothing here that we can use it for except for a power game to have all that stored away, and it really confuses me, and you know, the more I read about it, the more confused I get.
There was a Twilight Zone episode where they these people had this robbery and they stole all this gold, and somehow they got trapped in time and they came out years later, and many years later, to a futuristic planet, and you know, they were just trying to bring as much gold with them as they could to the nearest town, and as they kept getting nearer to the town, one by one would end up dying, and they'd be selling their water for thirst, and you know, because they were getting thirsty, to trade a whole bar of gold for just a swig of water. And as it turned out, they ended up finally, there was one man remaining, and he had a few bars of gold, and he said, "Here, just take all my gold, and I'll give you anything. All I need is some water." And they're like, "Gold isn't worth anything anymore. It was just another rock at that point in time." So there is going to come that point in time, once again, hidden in plain sight. There's going to come a point in time where it's just a rock. It's just something where we finally escape living in money and subservience, where it's not going to be worth anything.
You know, and isn't that what it's about? You know, you hear the stories like in World War II at the end in Germany, people had a barrel full of money, but they couldn't even buy a loaf of bread with it. And you're right, and I think that's the lesson. I mean, you know, exactly. We just can't. We've got to get out of this money system, this money thing, this control, and you know, all the resources are there for us on Earth. Everything is there. If it wasn't kept secluded and hidden, it's just such a power game, because there's such the resources on Earth that everybody can have everything they need. In a society like that, even what you would call the dregs of society would contribute in their own way. And it's just crazy, whether it's money, gold, or whatever. It seems like another manipulation tool. Oh, it's this shiny thing. It's the fault. Gold is kind of a false light as far as I'm concerned, because it's fucking worthless to do anything with, unless I wanted to, I don't know, unless I wanted to buy something with it. Hey, I got all this gold, but you give me some, you know, this much money so I can do this with. But if it wasn't a society like that, what the hell would gold be worth? You can't do anything with it. I mean, it goes back to this power game again. You know?
Yep.
Well, I agree. You know, I think that that's just part of the awakening, is realizing that, you know, money is only good for whatever energy we put into it, and the same thing goes with gold. And you know, that as we wrap up the show here, I was going to get to this last part called the unknown wild card, you know, in the article, and we've been talking about that already, but it says, you know, in the article that many of us have a sense of impending urgency compiled with desire to go home, and whether home is going back to the organic Earth or to your galactic planet of origin, the thing remains. We all feel like we're on the verge of something magnanimous, I think is the word, yet it is difficult to pinpoint exactly what that might be. And, you know, I do believe that there is an organic Earth, and I do believe that this is, in my opinion, how I view things. We're in a copy. We're in somebody else's creation, somebody else's construct. And, you know, I think all of us have this, our awakening began with the realization of this emptiness inside, you know, this hole that we can't seem to fill, this urging and longing to go home. And so, you know, Larry, you know, you were talking about the confusion that you have, and that's exactly what they wanted to do at this time, at this lifetime, is make sure that everyone was just as confused as they could be, and the people that don't go within and start finding out, you know, the answers for themselves by perhaps convening with their higher self, even if they think that they can't hear the answers do come. They just come in different ways for different people. And whether it be through an article that you read and it just rings a bell, or whether it be through a dream that you have, or whether it be from someone else that actually says something to you that, oh my gosh, it just clicks and makes sense. That's how you feel truth. And that's how we will get through this confusion, is by sometimes, just like you did, Larry, sometimes you just have to stop, put everything that you've learned behind, and connect with nature, or connect with your family once again, or go to do silly things, go have fun, and just forget everything that we've learned to confuse you, and rebalance yourself, and then be able to discern a little bit better, and things become clearer, and you think, okay, now I understand. I got through that one. Now let's tackle the next thing I'm confused about. And that's how we raise our consciousness. So hopefully we will have an unknown wild card, and hopefully you don't come away from this show more confused than you were before, because I do want to mention that every single person on this planet is seeing things differently than the person next to you, the person next door to you, the person in the next state from you. We all have our own perspectives, and that was created as a way for our Creator to be and have individual parts of its consciousness sent out to have experiences, even though we are all one together, like we all came from the same Creator. We're all part of, we're all fractals, we're all whole parts of the Creator being. The gift we have is individuality, ways of seeing things different. And what we see through our eyes and what we process through our brain isn't the same for someone else. So there may be maybe 1,000 different ways to say what we said today, and just because the words I used, or the words that Greg used or Larry used to explain what we're experiencing, doesn't mean that it has to be exactly like that for you. But a lot of times the things that we say will trigger something in you, or sound familiar, and allow you to use your own filter and your own discernment to figure things out. But the last thing we wanted to do was to confuse anyone today. Now, with that being said, I'm hoping that there is a cosmic wild card, and I just feel like we are moving towards that.
No, I completely agree, Michelle, and you just touched on some things that I was going to touch upon. I mean, it's like, and I would encourage everybody out there, if they've never watched this video, but it's called The World Without Christianity. It's by Terence McKenna, and it talks about a split that happened, sometime 12, 13,000 years ago, and where there a 5D Earth did emerge, where all the societies on Earth, the Vikings, the Indians, the Romans, the Mayans, they all got together with good intentions, and they formed this super Earth, where we were at the moon already by the 12th century. And he died in the year 2000. It just really makes sense, because we're still stuck here in this illusion. And if everybody would get together as one, and we would share with our cultures with each other, and share the goodness. I mean, if humanity got together, we could do this all on our own. We don't need a government controlling us. We don't need a big brother watching us. We don't need to be our brother's keeper, but our brother's helper, because we are our brother. And it would have been a better society, and we would go so far overnight if people would get that and get out of that us against them mentality. And I don't know, I just really wanted to thank you also both for being on my show, Greg, so much. And of course, I want to mention out there, that I was listening to Greg's shows, 2-3 years before I even found all these Facebook groups, and it's just amazing. And like I've told him before, that all I would think when I'd listen to him was like, okay, well, we're moving into a new age, and this guy should be hosting Coast to Coast, not Nori. I mean, these things need to get out there, and and it just, I'm just amazed. You guys take my breath away, because you're so great. And yeah, it's probably about time to wrap up the show, unless anybody has any further points, and I'll defer to both.
Well, I just had a thought. I'm just going to jump right in. because I am Gabby, you know. What if?
Yes,
What
you
if?
are.
All right. What if we are the? What if we are the cosmic wild card? Our souls. You know. What if we are the What if they never? What if? So what if we're here to, you know, awaken, and just by doing that and doing everything we've talked about tonight, that's going to do it? I mean, we are the cosmic wild card.
You know, I think so. And Michelle, you know, when we post the show, you'll get people that'll just like, they'll just hit like just to like. And, you know, I almost get the feeling like even if they don't listen to this show, right, just by seeing it, I mean, it raises the consciousness level, I think. And it may strike something with them, in them, that they already knew, but yet they're awakening to it. Because we're not here, and I'll quote Barbara Marciniak, we're not here to learn anything new. We're here to remember. And I really agree with that. And, you know, the only thing that bothers me is I sure as hell wish Barbara Marciniak would do interviews, because I'd love to see Greg do one. I'd love to see Michelle, you interview her, or even, you know, me on there. I'd be so starstruck. I don't know if I could, but I just feel like, you know, maybe the time will come when she's willing to do an interview. And
Greg
maybe it'll
doesn't
be
like
with
to do
somebody.
radio.
Actually, no. When I went to see her out in California, I got to talk to her quite a bit in between her presentations, and we got so close. She almost bit on it for me interviewing her, and it takes a lot. If anyone can do it, I think I could. But I just need to start writing her and letting her know that I am still very interested, and when she's ready, I would love to be that person. Now, one last thing in closing for me. I have a feeling that the Cosmic Wildcard definitely has something to do with our codons being turned on. And I'm not sure whatever fashion that's going to be. It could be the cosmic rays, it could be everything that we had been talking about. But if our codons, because we have only 20 of our 60 some odd codons turned on, if they're all turned on, we're capable of anything. That includes manifesting food from the air, or teleporting yourself anywhere. So my gut feeling is that something's going to happen that turns our codons on, and that's where we're going to be heading. And I hope I'm the first one that can do it.
I hope so too, man. I love
it. You already have.
Yes. You're totally right, and I hope so. I really hope so. That'd be the most riveting interview that humanity could ever see if you interviewed Barbara Marciniak. And man, you know, you're telling that story about almost getting her to bite, and it'd be like, oh man, I'd be so like disappointed if it didn't happen. But you know, you planted that seed though, and it may happen. And I'm so excited about it that could be a possibility. You know what I mean? I'd love to see you do that. I'd love to see you interview Graham Hancock and even the old man David Icke a little bit, but Barbara Marciniak would be wonderful. And I love you guys, and thank you so much for coming on the show. And Michelle, did you have anything else that you needed to touch upon or wanted to put out there to the Star family?
Well, I would just like to say that Greg also has he has actually 2 websites right now that are chock full of information, and the information that is external outside of yourself right now. You know, the main purpose is to be able to get, you know, pick up your little clues so you can remember how to be in contact with your higher self, because you truly do have all the answers within you, and they don't always come out as, you know, blatant as this is the truth, this is the way it is. You know, it doesn't like to you and tell you everything. You have to dig. You have to get in. You know, you have to learn to have that connection and everything. And the two websites that Greg runs are bodymindsoulspirit.com and N5D.com. Now, bodymindsoulspirit.com is a great website for health and spirituality and connection, to keep our bodies alive right now. I mean, we came here, we planned all this time, we got here, and that is why they're poisoning us, is to, you know, to wipe us out and to you know, to do the reincarnation thing. And as you raise your vibration, believe me, you become almost like we can't be messed with. The more we raise our vibration, I mean, we're still here. You know, there's radiation levels on the West Coast supposedly off the charts, and you're still alive, Larry. So, you know, you don't have any, you don't have these symptoms and stuff. So, you know, bodymindsoulspirit.com is a great website for the health aspect of it, and spirituality, and the really fun stuff. And N5D is basically, you know, it's the truth. It's got stuff. It's got information on the cosmic beings, the cosmic way to look at things. You also have the alternative news every single day. Greg updates the alternative news with things that he thinks are important, and it's just a plethora of information, huge database, and the format is very mobile friendly for both websites. So I just wanted to say that you can keep in touch with us through Facebook if you have any questions or need to contact us. Both websites have a page, N5D on Facebook and Body, Mind, Soul, Spirit on Facebook. We also have our own individual Facebook pages. I know, Larry, you've got one as well, and you have all your wonderful groups that you've set up on Facebook to bring like-minded souls together to be able to, you know, fight this battle. Sometimes the battle is within, you know, and we just need support to help get each other through. So I've really appreciate you putting this together, Larry, for us, because usually we're the ones that have the radio shows, but you know, it's just a lot easier just to hang out with friends in a casual environment. I appreciate you putting this together for us.
I second that. Thank you, Larry.
Thank you too. I mean, it's like the wave of the future. We're the wave of the future. A hangout like this is just really cool. And you know, Michelle, you already, you know, I was gonna go into that spill that I usually do about where can I find you, where can, you know, if you want to get in contact with us. But you just mentioned it all. I mean, we're on Facebook, N5D. You know, go to N5D's Facebook page. You know, the groups that I'm in, Pleidians, Fringe Thinkers, the ones that we're all in, and just, you know, you can find us on Facebook everywhere. And like the great Howard Cosell would say, there you have it, sports fans or cosmic sports fans. No, but thank you so much. And did either one of you two have anything to add? I think, you know, we pretty much covered it. You know, the website's www.bodymindsoulspirit.com and www.n5d.com. And I just wanted to say this: N5D, you talk about gold. N5D is true cosmic golden. I mean, it's anything that you would want to know about anything and everything possible, everything you ever wanted to know about, I mean, space, you can find in N5D. You just go there, there's a search engine, and I mean, it's all free. If Greg was caught in the illusion of 3D at all, I mean, he should charge for this. There's just so much knowledge there, and it's just wonderful, and I wanted everybody to just please, anything you ever wanted to know about this, all you got to do is go there and hit the search engine, and you're going to get a plethora of anything that you ever wanted to know about really anything. And I mean that. I mean, it's just amazing. It's endless there. You know?
I appreciate that, brother. Thank you.
Well, it's the truth, man. And I mean, and I want to give another shout out to you. You know, people talk about the indigo children and the crystal rainbow children. That video that you composed a few years back and put together, it's just so articulate. The music in it, the words in it, the description. I mean, it makes my chakra shake to listen to it, even time and time again, because everything like that is real. And you know, it's just amazing. And I love you two both so much. And I know Sif and I are so appreciative of both of you and look to you as role models, both of you. And thank you guys so much for being on the show. And that's all I got to say. And unless you two have anything else to say, I think that should be a wrap.
All right. Sounds good to me.
That's a wrap. Thank you, Larry.
Michelle, do you have anything to say, M-Wall? It's a wrap.
Yeah, that's a wrap.
Thanks, you guys. And as always, that's a wrap. I'm your delicious host, Rocken Larry Locken for Pleidian Express Productions, and also on behalf of N5D.com and Body, Mind, Soul, Spirit. We appreciate your viewership, and we appreciate your, we just appreciate you being there. And with that, I'm going to quit rambling and give a big dating game kiss to everybody in the cosmos, and we're out.
Namaste.